There's an epidemic of anxiety in our society. Every day, across the world, hundreds of millions of people experience feelings of fear, worry, all this uncertainty out there, and of course, lots of stress. As a heart surgeon, I know stress is the enemy of longevity. It could be as bad for you, listen carefully, as smoking cigarettes. It is that powerful. But what if you could harness the power of anxiety for good? That's right, for good. My next guest says it's not only possible, she did it herself. Dr. Wendy Suzuki's new book, Good Anxiety, Harnessing the Power of the Most Misunderstood Emotion, is eye-opening because it's teaching people to do what she did. Now, she's a professor of neuroscience and psychology at NYU. She's been on the show before for Alzheimer's segments, but she's now changed a little bit. You're one of the foremost experts on your day job of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
But you decided to focus on how exercise changes our brain.
Yes.
And I'm curious why you decided to tackle anxiety. It's not the classic tack for a big-time academician like you.
Well, I started to notice how much anxiety was increasing in my students and my colleagues and my friends and myself. And when I dove in, I realized that topic changed when something happened in my life. I had a tragedy that happened. My father passed away, but just 3 months later, my younger brother passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack. And I found myself kind of in a master class of all the most difficult, uncomfortable emotions, not just dealing with anxiety for the book, but grief and everything that came with it. And when I came out of it, I realized that I was trying to understand what can we learn from these uncomfortable emotions. And so the first thing in the book is how do you turn that anxiety down? So there's tools and lots of different examples for how you can turn your anxiety down.
So again, if the focus is going from a bad to a good, which is what I think most people are going to have to deal with, if they move anxiety in that direction, we have to start off with some super simple ideas. So I want you to listen to Amber. She's got an anxiety issue. It causes her to lash out. Take a look.
Dr. Oz, my anxiety has been through the roof lately. When it comes to worrying about bills, kids, and day-to-day life, I tend to lash out on my family when I'm under a lot of stress. I would like to know, are there any other ways I can deal with these emotions?
So Dr. Suzuki writes that it's important for people like Amber to give themselves permission to experience anxiety and annoyance, even anger. And how does that create openness? How does that give you a creative outlet for your anxiety?
So when you take the time to give yourself permission to bring creativity into the process, how can you approach these issues in a creative way, in a different way? Because if you just feel the same emotions in the same way and let it kind of beat you down, it's always going to beat you down.
I've got a toolbox, everybody, filled with ways to creatively cope with the feelings of anxiety. One thing in that toolbox is exercise. So come on over. You have become the foremost expert in how exercise affects the brain. However, I think we should leave it to Elle Woods to explain it from her speech in Legally Blonde. Now, since we cannot afford a clip, we have the next best thing. Samantha starred in the 2001 film, and, well, she happens to be my sister-in-law. That's right, Lisa's sister. She actually was in the movie, so she has recreated the scene for us.
Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't kill their husbands. They just don't.
It's simple. They just don't shoot their husbands. As Samantha said, in the words of Elle Woods, endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't kill their husbands. So what's the magic number? How much exercise do people need to get, treadmill, however they get it, in order to avoid some of the, or at least to harvest the mood-boosting benefits?
So here's the good news. Work in my lab and other people have shown that just 10 minutes of moving your body, including just walking, can start to decrease those feelings of anxiety, depression, hostility. So go take a walk outside, walk around your dining room table, go up and down the stairs. It will start to get those, not just endorphins, but dopamine, serotonin bubbling in your brain. I like to call it a bubble bath of neurochemicals every single time you move your body.
Guys, think about that, 10 minutes. By the time you start, you're almost done.
Yes.
It's a tiny little bit. Okay, next thing Wendy wants us to do is to creatively cope with feelings of anxiety. Here's the deal. We want you to laugh out loud at least one time a day. Why does this work? People are going to be laughing at you, not with you.
No. Laughter is so powerful because, like exercise, it's increasing endorphins, it's increasing serotonin, and there's so many different ways to bring laughter into our lives. Watching stand-up specials, calling your friend that is really, really funny. So many ways. It's so powerful for your brain and for your general affect.
All right, so I didn't bring Ariel in here. She says this has changed her life. You look like you've been smiling a lot.
I have been now. I mean, I have my 16-month-old son now, but laughter really helped my life. I mean, I dealt with infertility, multiple pregnancy losses, several years of fertility treatment, IVF, and anybody who says that they don't experience a certain degree of anxiety when you're dealing with infertility is not telling the truth. But
one in 3 women is underbabied, right? Either can't have a baby or doesn't have the number of babies they want. So I know it's a huge problem.
it's a huge problem, and one that doesn't get talked about enough. But yeah, I mean, in my experience, you know, it's just been so much better to laugh than to cry. And with my last IVF embryo transfer, it resulted in my 16-month-old son. And, you know, that was the one where we, instead of laying low and being antisocial and hibernating, we went out for dinners with friends and watched funny content about fertility on Instagram. And that was something that we really leaned into this time around. And here we are.
This is going to sound weird, but they actually did a study looking at comedy and people who are laughing and their impact on fertility. It actually seems to help. People who watch the clowns got better results than the control group. And what's wrong with clowns?
Yeah, and I'm not surprised to hear that. There's a lot of sensitivity in the fertility community around the advice of just relax, but you know, it's so important to try to kind of find ways to do it. So whether that's proactively scheduling time with friends, you know, as long as you're not overdoing it, really trying to go out of your way to have fun and, you know, laugh as much as you can, it definitely doesn't hurt. It can only help.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
16 months, you got a long way to go.
Yeah,
all right.
Thanks.
The next thing Dr. Suzuki says we have to do is to creatively cope with feelings of anxiety by getting a massage. Now, this is an easy thing to do. You can get the free kind from the hubby, right?
Yes, that works.
You don't have to pay hard cash.
Yeah.
So explain why it works.
It works because it's increasing oxytocin in your brain. It's also decreasing cortisol. But it's not just massages, it's hugs, it's touching, it's holding hands. So don't be afraid to ask for a hug if you really need it.
And with COVID, that was probably the single thing that we missed the most.
Yeah,
the isolation
absolutely.
breeds anxiety. We're the safety net for each other. When you can't hug,
Yeah.
handshake, or anything else, it hurts.
Yeah.
All right, we're all missing this, right? We're not getting hugs from grandparents. We're not getting relatives in our lives anymore. No, they pester you. They're who you need. So it elevates an already anxious time. Coming up, Dr. Wendy's fix for the most anxious time of day, bedtime, when you're trying to fall asleep. And as we go to break, here's Wendy demonstrating one of her favorite meditation techniques.
First, I want to just add some tea to my teapot. Take my hot water here and just fill that up. You don't have to use a lot. What we're doing here is just hydrating the tea. I let that seep for a little while. The ritual of the making of the tea turns into my morning meditation.
What if you could wrap your arms around your anxiety and squeeze it so tightly that it turned from the bane of your existence into a blessing? Dr. Wendy Suzuki has been studying the brain for over 30 years. She says it is possible to embrace what she calls good anxiety to make you stronger. One superpower, she says, comes from anxiety is productivity. We all want to get more done. So what can we do to make sure that doesn't stress us out?
Yeah. So one of the things that comes up in anxiety very commonly is that what if list. What if this happens? What if that happens? For me, it comes up right before I go to sleep. And the gift of that part of your anxiety is that you can shift that what if list into a to-do list. Make it productive. Make it increase your productivity. And that really is a secret superpower, a gift from anxiety.
Yeah, when you don't have agency over your future, everything starts to fall apart.
Yes.
You get bitter, actually. So here's an example.
Yeah.
Someone asked themselves, well, what if I don't get that raise?
Yeah.
Dr. Suzuki says you need to make a list of action steps, things you're going to be doing to address the what if. So these are the to-do lists, right? These are things to do in case you don't get the job. So evaluate the feedback, seek benefits, create a timeline, update your resume, right? And if you be open to opportunities. All this will change a lot of how you perceive the possible, because it didn't happen to you.
Yeah.
You have control over it.
Yes.
Now, for a lot of people, the what ifs start racing through their mind at bedtime.
Yeah.
Right? When you're supposed to be quiet and still and sort of getting into that space. You have a phrase you can shut all that down.
Yes. I am grateful for the bounty in my life is the phrase or mantra I use at the end of the day because it reminds me of all of the things that are going well in my life, including all the wonderful memories that I have from my past. So if you can kind of embrace that emotion, one of our most powerful emotions is gratitude. Yeah. I think that will really help that late night anxiety.
Dr. Suzuki, thank you very much. Her wonderful book is called Good Anxiety That's what we want to do. Make it good. It's available now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.